Welcome back into another episode of the Lads Talking Footy podcast. As always, with myself, Sam, joined by Jordan Tana every week, mate. How's it going?
Good, bro. It's good to see you rocking the sky blue. That is a tidy jersey, my man.
Yeah, so all you listeners and all you watchers out there, you can clearly tell that this Origin preview is going to be highly biased, all in favour of the blue right now. I always say it at the end of the show, but I'm going to start saying it at the start. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave us a question down below in the comments if you're watching this as well, and we'll get back to you every week. But yeah, just keep a little bit of movement going. If you're not following us on Instagram, jump in there and follow us there. We want to get a little bit of traction and see if some positive things can come. But yeah, let's get into it. We'll start off with accountability. The show's going to run as per normal until we get up to the preview, and then obviously we'll jump into the Origin. That's what everyone's here for. But take us away with accountability from the recent round, mate.
Yeah, so it was a bye round, so the picks are looking a little dusty. I've gone from having a perfect week a couple of weeks ago to having an imperfect week, 0 for 5 on the picks. But yeah, that deserves an X already. But I've been looking at my tipping comps, and I can see that a few of the other boys have got imperfect weeks as well. So I don't want anyone giving me shit after this show.
Yeah.
Sammy, you've actually done amazing here. You've gone 4 from 5. The props are a little bit dusty, but the picks were outstanding, man. So well done on that.
The props are dusty. Before you get into that, I did laugh at all the memes coming out there saying 0 for 5 or who's 0 for 5 in tipping so far in the week. And I was thinking, I've actually had a pretty good week here. My betting, not very good, but in terms of picking the games, not too bad.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. The first one you got right was a good upset victory for the Eels, beating the Sharks 34-22. I thought the Sharks maybe could hang on with a 1-12 victory, but they've gone down there.
Yeah, and I've ended up taking Kale Aero into Will Penasini at $10.75. So we go down there. Penasini crosses, but Aero doesn't. There was actually a little breakout there on the left-hand side where Mulatala was going, and Aero just didn't have the leg speed to keep up with him. I was thinking, come on, spin it to him left, but it didn't quite come in.
Yeah, it was kind of like a trade-off. Like Penasini got his try at Aero's expense, bumping him off and going through. So... I mean, unfortunate miss there. Bulldogs beating the Knights 32-2, an impressive performance in the rain. Once again, I thought the Knights were going to come out with the better form that they've shown lately, but I've gone -6.5, which they definitely haven't covered.
Yeah, and I've taken David Armstrong into the Dogs to win here at $7.25. Armstrong actually had the ball shadow him across the line, but he didn't actually manage to dot it down there. So, yeah, a little bit of a shaky performance from him as well at the back there.
Yeah, poor guy. Tough night at the office, but, hopefully he'll get another chance to prove himself. The Dragons, another upset. I can see why people went 0 from 5. Dragons beating the Panthers 22-10. Impressive performance. I've gone Panthers, -8.5. Another X.
Yeah, and I've taken Isaac Tungo into the Panthers to win at $3 there, so we go down.
And then probably the game of the round. This was a fantastic game up there in Redcliffe. Raiders beating the Dolphins 26-25 in double golden point. Back the Dolphins. I've gone Dolphins 1-12 and they've gone down.
Yeah, and I've ended up taking Asako into Savage at $3.20, and we've gone down there as well. Xavier Savage crosses for me, but Asako just can't find the line.
Very unfortunate. And then just to round out all the upsets, another one to end the week. The biggest one of all, because I remember the line closing at +19.5. The Cowboys beating the Roosters 18-16. I've gone Cowboys at +17.5, which earlier in the week was a bit shorter, and it's actually come through. The one prop hit of the day.
Nice. And I've ended up taking Dom Young, Manu, and Teddy at $5.25. So we don't go over there, unfortunately. And as for me, with the repeat set bet, I've taken Dom Young into the Roosters to win at a healthy $1.66, but the Roosters can't get the result there.
Hey, at least he got over. Old Manu was moved to fullback, and that was a blessing in disguise for you. And I've taken the Panthers head-to-head, which has broken my streak of good repeat set betting lately. So, unfortunately, go down there.
Yeah, and my 40-20 bet for the weekend as well was Penasini into Tungo into Manu at $10.45. Penasini obviously goes over for me there, but Tungo Manu, no good.
And obviously, when you're banking on results in your 40-20 bets and you go 0 from 5 on the tipping, you're probably not going to get it over the line. So I've got Sharks head-to-head into Dolphins 1-12. Texas there.
Yeah, a whole lot of red from the lads in that one. Buy round, if we've learned anything from that one, do not bet on buy round. I've taken a -7 unit collect from that one, which bumps my total unit collection from the season down to 57.08 units. So we are still obviously in the green, but in for a losing round on that one.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I haven't done my unit collect this round, but I'm just going to say that it was very dusty. So
Yeah, red,
we're
red,
still
red.
living the success of 2 weeks ago.
As for the Telegram recap, obviously the free betting that we're doing every single week, through that, 26.5 units staked on the round and a 29.38 unit collect. So we are in the green there. We had a fantastic night on Thursday night. Nearly every single thing hit for us in the Eels versus Sharks game. And then it was just red, red, red for the rest of it. So unfortunate there. Now I've got two questions for you before we move into the power plays from the round. So we're approaching the midway point throughout the season. What I want to know is, who do you think the signing of the round so far, or the signing of the year has been so far?
Yeah, well, my signing of the year is probably the most generic one, probably one of the bigger ones that was done in the off season. I'm going to go with Stephen Crichton because he's come in straight away and he's become the captain of the team. And there has been an apparent culture shift within the Bulldogs. Like, they seem to be a lot more defensively present this year and really like trying to keep themselves in the games. And they've been looking very slick on attack as well, and they've put together a few good performances, and they're right there hunting on the top 8. And I think in terms of defensively, he is one of the best defensive centers in the game. So I think he's probably had a very big impact in that department and in shifting this culture to a more defensive mindset for the Bulldogs. So I really like Stephen Crichton. He's been playing really good as well, but I think it's the intangibles that he's kind of added to this team that's taking them another step further this year. So I'm going Stephen Crichton.
Yeah, we probably should have talked about this off air before we jumped on, because I'm going Stephen Crichton as well. And you've hit the nail on the head here. The Bulldogs were in all sorts last season, and they looked like they were just lacking that direction. And it sort of started to point towards, obviously, Cam Serraldo, who's managed to get I'm very, very impressed with what he's done this year in terms of the forward pack and how the game plan that they're playing and the way that it's moving. But it's Stephen Crichton and the leadership. He hasn't had the impact on the team, maybe performance-wise, that you would expect from him in terms of the moments, the outbreaking, the performances that we're used to seeing him with the Penrith Panthers that he have every now and then. But it seems to just be everything that he's doing off it. They seem to be rallying behind him, the leadership that he brings to it, that anything that the team needs, he's there doing. He's started on the left-hand side, he's shifted to the right to make way for Bronson Cherry. He's just adapted with them all season. I've been so impressed by him and just sort of what he's become for that Bulldogs team this season. You'd look at him with the Penrith Panthers and just, I guess he'd kind of be immersed in the system a little bit when you've got Isaiah Yao, you've got Nathan Cleary and all these top-notch leaders, the system that they're in, and then you take him from that and you put him in the Bulldogs team, and we're seeing the success that they're having this year, and he's playing a huge part in that. So I agree 100%. Signing of the year so far for me is Stephen Crichton. And now, who do you think is the front runner for Rookie of the Year so far?
Yeah, this is a little more tight over a contest for me because there has been some good young guys that have come through. I'll do a shout out to Lachlan Galvin because I think he has had glimpses of more potential than maybe the guy that I will eventually pick. But he also had that suspension, and that I think that goes against him in the awards when it comes to the actual awards at the end of the year. I know we don't like to consider that when we're doing our awards, but also that does mean he's had time off, which this other guy has not. So I'm going to give it to this guy who's been the picture of consistency the whole year. I'm going to give it to Morgan Smithies because he hasn't missed a single game all year. He's averaging 97 run meters per game, 37 tackles per game, and only missing 1.16 tackles per game. So he's been absolutely just a consistent rock for the Raiders. And you don't usually get that out of rookies. They're sometimes a little raw and they make mistakes here and there, but he's been a rock. He had a bit of a shocker in saying that over the weekend, but flushing that to the side, he's been really good for the Raiders, and I think he is the front runner at the moment for Rookie of the Year.
Nice. I'm going to stick with the green machine on this one as well, and I'm not going with Morgan Smithies, but I'm going with Ethan Strange. Now, Jack Wyden obviously left the Canberra Raiders at the back end of last season. We're wondering how they were going to go with filling that void, and obviously you had Strange and you had KO Weeks, and we weren't too sure coming up into it who was actually going to get that first chance at the 5'8" position. And for me, Ethan Strange has just locked that down. There's even been a lot of chat that I've seen swirling and rumours that they would have liked to have seen him potentially be an extra number in the New South Wales Blues camp just to get him ready for taking on or just expose him to what's going on in there. And they think he's got a very bright future ahead of him. But nonetheless, for the Raiders, his defense has been fantastic from him. He's a big boy. There's been a lot of debate on whether he actually is a 5'8" or a centre, but his running game for me as well has been electric. That was on full display again on the weekend, the way that he bounced out and that right to left shift. I think it was before putting Xavier Savage away. He's so elusive and he's so strong as well. And I just think that he's obviously not got that same sort of gameplay as Jack Whiten, but it has, in a way, been an almost like-for-like sort of replacement in the way that he just runs the football so well, and he's such a strong attacking half, and it's allowed them to play that same kind of system in a way where they haven't had to sort of veer away, and they obviously rely on Jamal Fogarty and his kicking game hugely, but Ethan Strange out on that left edge has been fantastic for them, and I'm really excited to see what he has in front of him in terms of his career. Now we're going to move into the power plays from the round. So this is obviously brought to you by TVC Live every week. If you haven't downloaded the app, we say it all the time, download the app. It'll be a lot of fun come Origin time, make live predictions throughout it, and they give away a ton of prizes as well. But my TVC Live power play from the round this week is Will Kennedy's try in the 34th minute against the Eels. Off the kick return, he decides to shift hard onto that left side, links up with Mulatalo, who shows some fantastic skill and footwork. He actually showed the little show and go before linking back up with Kennedy on the inside when he goes underneath the sticks there. Now, everyone talks about how great that Penrith Panthers back five is, but I think this Sharks back five has just proved that they can cut you to bits in terms of just how they exit. It's not always the yardage plays for them, but they are ready to shift the ball whenever, and they're so elusive as well. But that shift and that play from Will Kennedy linking up with Mulatalo, just X factor all around it, and fantastic from them.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I had my eyes on that try as well. As soon as I saw it, I was like, wow, that is the power play of the round, because that was amazing. Mulatalo did a great job as well, doing the steps and doing the things he did to get the ball back to Kennedy, who started the whole thing. So absolutely outstanding try. One of the tries of the year, honestly. That got me off my seat watching the game live on was it Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday night.
Yeah, Thursday. Been so long ago now. Jordan Rapana in the clutch is my power play of the week, because in his 208 previous games, he had never kicked a field goal, and then in this game, he hits two. One to draw the game on the 78th minute and take it to Golden Point. And then even in Golden Point 1, he had that good try-saving effort where he legally stopped the try by competing for the ball with Katoa when Katoa tried to grab her through and tried to win the game on his own, which would have been an outstanding game winner. But Jordan Rapana, once again, putting his body on the line, stopping that try from happening. And then in Golden Point 2, gets another drop kick, second one of his career, gets the deflection but still goes over, wins the game for the Raiders, and another gritty performance from the Raiders to get the win away from home. They're doing it a lot this season, man. They're really impressing me with how they can get away with some of these results, and you can't bet against them, man. And Jordan Rapana has been the embodiment of gritty wins and gritty play throughout this year. So shout out to him. That's my power play of the week.
He's got Raiders, just that grit, determination written all over him, eh? When you've got a guy like that that's knocking over Jordan Rapana, knocking over 2 field goals to ultimately seal it for the Raiders, he's just like roll your sleeves up and do whatever it takes. He's body on the line constantly. He's absolutely fantastic. I see that they're negotiating, I think it is a contract extension with him currently as well. So I do hope that they keep him there, because, I mean, there was obviously the fullback position that was sort of a glaring hole, and he's not the replacement, obviously, long-term, or potentially what you'd look at building towards a championship. But, man, he's been fantastic at the back there, and he's been Mr. Consistent back there as well. One power play, I wasn't actually sure if you were going to stick with it or not, but it could have been from that Sharks-Eels game, and that was Mike Acevo's try over Will Kennedy as well. Kennedy cut them to bits on the attacking end, but defensively, he got steamrolled. And shout out to KO in that 4K over here in Melbourne. You could just see all the shadows glistening all over Acevo's fantastic calves, the biceps, just everything. Yeah. But, man, that was a powerful play from him. We're going to move into performances of the round. There were a lot of very good performances, I thought, throughout this week. a lot of players, or like from players and also players returning, i.e. Moses had an absolute blinder, but I'm going to go a little bit left field on this one. I'm going to go Liam Henry from the Penrith Panthers. In a losing effort, yes, but he defended his backside off all game. He had 78 tackles and 2 missed. He made 78 tackles in 74 minutes from the young forward. Absolutely fantastic. I mentioned him a couple of weeks ago, just being that sort of like for like with Liam Martin, I guess, as we sort of move on from the Fisher Harris era and who's going to be coming through. But sprinkle a little bit of Boots McInnes in that if you're going to be putting up 78 tackles in a game. It was just a workhorse all afternoon, and to only miss 2 tackles as well in the middle. Fantastic from the young forward.
Yeah, man, that's a hard thing to ask of a guy is to have a work rate like that, and for such a young guy who's doesn't look super polished yet on the attacking end. He isn't blowing us away with some of his attacking runs or lines and stuff like that. But on the defensive end, when you're working that hard, and you could see it in the game, like the Dragons, were putting the Panthers under a lot of pressure through the middle. They were getting some hard carries from Molo, from Lowry, from Fatala Mariner, and they were really putting a lot of pressure through the middle. And I was just watching every set, and it was like Henry involved in every tackle as they worked their way up the field. And I was like, man, they're going to probably lose this game, but it's not going to be the fault of this guy because he is trying his backside off to fucking get the win for his team. But unfortunately, didn't get it done. This guy, however, did get it done. And you did mention him earlier, Mitchell Moses from the Eels. Wasn't like much like yours, it wasn't like a ridiculously spectacular performance, but considering that he's been out since round 3, it was a super impressive performance. And I'm going to say he was the main reason they got the result against the table leaders. So I guess in a way it was a spectacular performance considering the circumstances. And it's almost like he hadn't missed a beat in this game because he controlled it beautifully with his boot, which we know he can do. 652 kicking meters and just pinning the Sharks in the corners and having to make them work very hard to get territory in this game. And he just suffocated them. And he was still really good on attack as well. Still constantly probing across the line when he was running across the line. Still threatening the short sides, and which it paid off once with that try he set up for Penasini, where he got out down the blind side on the 5th tackle in the 57th minute and then got the offload away to Penasini, who got... Oh, no, sorry, not Penasini. Simonson, I believe it was, who scored on the corner. Great stuff there. And he's always sort of, just direct as well. He will do a show and go and always threatening with his attacking ability, plays right at the line. Just a good player, man. And this performance has really put Hines and Luai on a hot seat for New South Wales because even after an extended period of time, I watched that game and I thought, yeah, I would trust him probably more than anyone else if I were to repick New South Wales right now as a half because he is outstanding, man. So shout out to Mitchell Moses. Huge win over the table-topping Sharks.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what you said. And actually at halftime throughout that game, I put up a little tweet on Twitter saying, can we pull Mitch Moses at halftime and send him up into the Blue Mountains? He was playing that good. It was like he hadn't even skipped a beat. It's almost a shame that you can't pull him back into there. Now we're going to discuss the Dally M points of the round that we had for this one. So do not take us away on that.
Yeah, so Dally M, lad of the round. With 1 point, we had Scott Drinkwater in that great win for the Cowboys over the Roosters. 10 points, 1 try, 127 run meters, 1 try assist, 3 line breaks, 1 line break assist, 10 tackle breaks, 2 offloads, and 145 kicking meters. He was outstanding, and he was really a big reason as to why they got that result. An absolute workhorse who gets 2 points this week. Raymond Faitala Mariner for the Dragons. Battling a few injuries over the years recently, but he looked in top form in this game. 1 try, 171 run meters, 1 line break, 11 tackle breaks, 1 offload, and 45 tackles. Absolutely outstanding work from him. And then, like we mentioned before, the guy in return, the guy who's maybe got his hands just sort of teasing at a New South Wales jersey. 3 points for Mitchell Moses. 10 points, 90 run meters, 1 try assist, 1 line break assist, 1 offload, 20 tackles, and a whopping 652 kick meters that just pinned the Sharks in their own territory and got the Eels the win. So 3 points, Mitchell Moses.
Nice. It's heating up down there at the moment in terms of the point collection so far. I'm looking forward to seeing where we end up at the end of the season. We're going to move into Grub of the Week, and it's a common theme here. We're going with Reed Marnie. I think the grubby action came from Jacob Saifidi in that one with the headbutt. I can't remember, sorry, if it was Jacob or Daniel Saifidi. One of the Saifidi bros. They might have even swapped positions on the send off. We did see that in preseason. But I'm going with Reed Marnie, and Andrew Johns actually summed this up perfectly in a video that I saw on Nine. And that when you think of Reed Marnie currently, you just think pest. And that's what he sort of is at the moment this season. And it is a shame because last year he was sort of overplaying his hand a little bit for the Bulldogs, and we sort of weren't sure if he was actually going to end up sort of. He's come from that Parramatta system where he was playing with Dylan Brown and Mitch Moses, and we weren't sort of sure if Reed Marnie could step out into the light and bring that upon his play, and he's doing that this season. He's been absolutely fantastic. There was a lot of people that actually had him in their New South Wales squad as well leading up to it, but that's not what he's being commended for at the moment. He's just been constantly being commended for pests. The first thing you think of Reed Marnie, you think grub. I actually think that Jack Hetherington did not play in this game because of Reed Marnie. I think they put him down in New South Wales Cup because they knew that something was going to happen. You saw it right from the get-go with Jackson Hastings, went straight at it. He was chirping. There was a lot of niggle throughout this, and Reed Marnie continues to feature in the middle of it. I'm just wondering if it's going to end up starting to take a little bit away from his gameplay and sort of just what he's actually been building. Obviously, you want to get under people's skin. It's a mental game. If you can get that edge on players where you can frustrate them and rattle them, but maybe if it's sort of affecting your own game, which it hasn't at this current point, I don't think, for Reed Marnie, but it's treading a fine line every single week, and it's I don't know, it's getting a little bit weird to watch.
It could be a case of, people shine a positive light on you when you are succeeding, and the Bulldogs are doing really good at the moment. So I kind of disagree, but I might be a prisoner to that theory that I've just stated, because I believe he is being a pest and it is having a positive effect on his team, and he's kind of like, he's getting in the other team's head and making them come off their game and try to, put late shots on him. We saw Phoenix Crosland push him over. We saw Jackson Hastings getting into it. I think he's actually using it positively, whereas last year, maybe because they were losing, in our minds we think, it's going a bit negative against the Bulldogs. But now I'm liking what he's doing. I kind of want him to keep doing it, and he is actually the second ever two-time grub of the week for us. So he's in an esteemed group with Tane Milne there. So shout out Reed Marnie for making history.
I'm waiting for that point where there's just going to be a big bopper, a JWH, someone like that that's going to turn around and just sack him. But yeah, it'll be interesting. All right, let's move into State of Origin Game 1 preview. These odds are accurate. As of Monday at 6 p.m, we're recording this a day early, trying to give you something a little bit earlier to listen to. We'll get into it. New South Wales obviously take on Queensland at Accor Stadium. Queensland favourites here, $1.74. New South Wales are $2.10 underdogs with the line at 1.5. So a couple of days ago, I ended up putting a nice big bet on New South Wales as the underdogs, and I only got them at that $2 line. So it's shifted up a little bit with the Tedesco news. Obviously, the lineups in this one, no changes. It's just Tedesco in for Edwards. The benches still remain the same for now. It would be interesting to see what that rotation looks like come kickoff. Before we get into the preview, though, obviously James Tedesco called into the Origin squad for Dylan Edwards. Are you concerned with what's been going on with New South Wales in terms of how many injuries are happening at the moment, or sort of how they're actually going to come into it if Tedesco is going to have a positive effect on them?
I think Tedesco is almost a like for Dylan Edwards. I know it can't be good for team chemistry and combinations for this many ins and outs to be happening through injuries, but Tedesco is not really a foreign in. He's not a new player that's coming into the system that's completely foreign to him. He's been there for years and years and years, and he's even captained the team. So I think he comes in and he plugs the gap perfectly. He even plays a very, very similar style to Dylan Edwards. So I don't think they're going to miss a beat with him coming into the squad. And I actually almost trust him a little bit more than Dylan Edwards because he has that experience at that level, and he's won series for us before as the captain. So he's not going to be overawed by the moment, whereas Dylan Edwards hasn't seen this stage before. I'm not saying that he will get overawed by the moment, but we just don't. We don't know. We don't know until we know. And Dylan Edwards may have came off his game a little bit, whereas we know James Tedesco is probably not going to. I still think Dylan Edwards is a slightly more capable player at this point in his career, but only slightly. And I still think James Tedesco has all the qualities to fill that gap and do an adequate job for us.
Nice. I've got two levels to this. So I'll start off with James Tedesco coming in himself. I think it's fantastic in terms of Teddy going in. This is sort of an all or nothing performance from him here. He's going to be able to either go in and save this, and he's going to be able to potentially go out after this series and just be said and done, or he's going to hang himself here in a way in terms of this game one performance, and we just know that that's him in or out. There's no pressure on him coming into this one as well. Hasn't been selected for it, so it's not like Teddy's been selected for this one and we come into it and it's going to be all Tedesco's fault. If not, he's come in to save the day here in a way. And then you've got the flip side of this. Dylan Edwards was picked for this squad. You've got Reece Robson in the halves there. We were looking to play a very direct game, which I don't think suits Tedesco in and around the ruck. When you've got the likes of Appy and guys that can sort of shift the ball a little bit, and you can see Tedesco running those track lines through. Dylan Edwards was going to be that guy sweeping out the back, seeing those silky hands and that. So I'm hoping that Tedesco maybe has lengthened those blades a little bit and he's not going to be playing slips out on the edge there. And I do think he's going to have a very positive impact in this one. I just hope that he doesn't potentially overplay his hand in here. Now we're going to give you some stats in this one. So State of Origin is just around the corner. Here is what you need to know ahead of game one. In 4 of the last 5 games, the opening try has been scored by a centre. Queensland have won 4 of the last 5 game ones, but New South Wales have won 4 of the last 5 games at Accor Stadium. Val Holmes has scored 13 tries in 17 Origin games. The last 4 New South Wales head coaches have won their first Origin game in charge, and 5 of the last 6 game ones have been decided by a 1-12 margin. So Jordan, who do you have winning game 1 and why? Talk me through it, mate.
Oh, okay. So there is a lot of aspects to this game that I would like to break down and kind of give my opinion on which team it favors more in certain aspects of this game. I'll start off with the territory. I believe with the exit set yardage, it is going to favor New South Wales because we do have Brian To'o. He is the king of this. Tedesco is also great at this as well. And Suali'i, Crichton, and Lomax are all strong in this department as well. Whereas Queensland have a few guys that aren't as strong in this department, such as Walsh, Hammer, and Coates. They tend to go down pretty easily and they don't fight for extra post-contact meters like To'o and Tedesco seem to do. So I think when it comes to exit set yardage, I believe we're going to get the edge there, New South Wales being that is. And then through the middle, I like New South Wales to have the advantage in that department as well because Haas is the most unstoppable front rower in the game. And then Lenu and Elakuatu are explosive ball carriers off the bench as well. And Crichton loves getting through a bunch of work as well. And there are strong carriers in the Queensland pack as well. I like how they've named Sua and Nanai. They are both very versatile and strong carrying forwards. And then Carrigan has been doing a lot of work this year as well. But I still think the slight edge goes towards New South Wales. And I will separate them from the fact that Robson is a much more dangerous hooker than Ben Hunt. And he will snipe around the block hole. And Tedesco is also great at sniping around those block holes as well. So even though they have Grant, they will miss Munster, who was, a real threat in that department, whereas Walsh kind of plays a little bit wider instead of threatening through the middle like Tedesco. So I think through the middle, territory-wise, it will be New South Wales that will have the advantage.
Yeah, I like what you bring up in terms of the exit sets as well. You've got Cam Munster, who we see for the Storm, actually has a little bit of a kicking game, whereas Tommy Dearden doesn't do a lot of kicking for the Cowboys. It's predominantly through Townsend. And you've now got Ben Hunt, Harry Grant, and DCE, all right foot kickers coming down that right-hand side. And I think they're going to pepper To'o early and get him receiving that ball so they negate that first carry. But then you've got the likes of Stephen Crichton, Tedesco, Joseph Suali'i, and Zach Lomax as well, carting that ball out. I think if those guys can get on their bike early, it'll be interesting to see how they go. And whether Queensland play that same tactic where they're going to look to kick early and sort of keep us down there as well. If they're going to do that, they've got the counter effect in that where these guys are just going to go all day with that returning. And you bring up Payne Haas in the middle. And I think one underrated factor coming into this one as well is obviously Jake Trebojevic with that big captain role next to his name. And he's going to be out there bleeding blue for that jersey. When you give him that captaincy role and you put that on him and you go lead the state, and you've got him in the middle there as well. I think he's just going to roll the sleeves up and work from the front. And I reckon he's going to whack someone in this one as well. I reckon he might shoot out
Wow.
early, line up Pat Carrigan, someone like that, set the tone early. I can't wait to see him get amongst it. And yeah, I agree. I think New South Wales have the advantage in terms of the brute force in the forward pack and the yardage carries. But there's just something about that Queensland Maroons team where they just have that moment's edge where you're not too sure how it's going to come from New South Wales. But when you look at that Queensland team, you know that DCE is going to be Mr. Consistent out there. Val Holmes has plays in him, but you have these fantastic finishers and Taulagi who can do it on the ground or in the air. And the aerial threat that is Xavier Coach and what he has done this season as well. He's won 2 games single-handedly for the Storm this year with his finishing ability. And I just think that that left-hand centre and hammer is just so underrated. We saw him carve up in last series, and he just has these moments where it might not even be where he breaks out defensively, but it might just be tracking up on the inside. You got Harry Grant coming through the middle, and he's not playing that fullback role. You got Reece Walsh, and then you got the Finn up next to him as well. Queensland just have that moments edge, I think, and that's the only thing that worries me here is I'm not sure where it's going to come from New South Wales. I do hope it doesn't come from Zach Lomax as well.
Um, this is a perfect segue because my next category is attack and point scoring ability. And one of these categories is the breakout ability. And I totally agree with everything you say. And it just proves that we're not a biased show here because we're both wearing blue. But I will tip my cap to Queensland and say they may have more of a breakout ability with the likes of Reece Walsh, with the likes of Xavier Coates, with the likes of Hammer. But I will say this, though, about New South Wales. We do have willing offloaders in the likes of Lomax and Crichton that could create dangerous second chance opportunities as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do get the odd, breakout play off of offload because those opportunities can be just as dangerous as, say, like a chip kick for Hammer or a shift early that gets it to Coates out wide. So I like our chances in that department, but I do have to favour Queensland. And then obviously in the strike zone, I am also going to slightly favour Queensland, mainly just due to the unknown of Hines at this level. But, with Hines' ability at hitting lead runners and playing eyes up footy and threatening both sides, he could be a game changer. But I know what I know from Queensland, and it's that Reece Walsh is the biggest factor for them because he is so dangerous. He is so explosive. And when he is injecting himself into the line, it causes panics at all levels, international, state of origin. He is just so dangerous that the defense has to really stand and see what he does. And he is a big factor when it comes to strike zone scoring. So I do favor Queensland again in that department. And DCE's short kicking game as well is very, very polished. So they will have opportunities off his grubber kicks and stuff like that. So slight favor to Queensland, but I do think Nico Hines' ability at this level is an X factor.
Yeah, you bring up Reece Walsh, and I think he has player of the series written all over him in this one if he can put it together. But the only thing that worries me is if he's going to overplay his hand as well. We talk about Tedesco making it a little bit too clunky in the middle, demanding the ball, but we've seen with Reece Walsh in these big games, or even games this season, and he's got mistakes in his game. And I take you back to obviously the Warriors-Broncos game last season where we see him go at Dallin Watene-Zelezniak and he throws that cutout ball and the intercept comes from it and he goes right back there again for the same play. The only thing that worries me is that this is state of origin and he might not have that second play as well. So he's going to have to be very calculated in the way that he wants to attack this because we're going to see those early swooping plays. We saw it from them last year. I think it was in game 1. Straight away, that shift from left to right, and we saw Reece Walsh straight out the back there, early yardage, but it's what he's going to do off of that. If he's going to try and throw that miracle ball, if he's going to, those moments for him are going to be very, very important this one because it's going to make or break him in the series and potentially in that Queensland jumper spot because he filled the Kalen Ponga jersey very, very well last year. And coming into this one, I gave him the edge on it as well. But if he's going to overplay his hand too much in this one, I think that's him. I think Ponga would get the next shot. when he's obviously healthy again. So for me, Reece Walsh and the attacking aspect, it's going to come from him. No doubt about that. It's just how it's going to come from him and if it's going to be that smart play.
Mm.
And for me, on the Blues side of it, it's actually going to be Luai, I think. So much for the Panthers this season. When it comes down that left-hand side, we see that Jenkins step back in. He's now got Stephen Crichton. He's going to have Toto, obviously, out on that left side of everything that we're sort of predicting is going to go to plan. It's going to be how they play off that, because we see Nico Hines and the Sharkies playing that big shift from right to left very, very well. That's why we see so many tries from Mulatalo. And that's why I'll be looking to go for Toto for a little bit of jam in this one. But it's how Luai is going to link off that one, because we know Teddy is going to be able to play well in that system. He'll have that jinky run inside, or he'll be able to shift it out off that edge as well, because the Roosters run a very good right to left shape as well. But be interesting to see how Luai connects with that one, because he's going to have no Isaiah Yao in the middle of there as well to begin with. I think when Yao comes in, it might be 30 minutes in or something like that for a quick spell before halftime, and that'll be him for the game. But it'll be how they play beforehand off of that. So for me, Reece Walsh for Queensland, it's going to be make or break for them, but Luai has got to fit whatever game play that they play, but I just don't want to see him have that jinky little step inside. I want to see him let it flow and let the offense go from there. So those are my two that I want to highlight.
Yeah, a lot of pressure for the fullbacks of both teams in this game. Very make or break, like you said. The next category I want to get into is playmaking and game control. And just to prove that we're not biased again, I am going to favour Queensland, and that is because of DCE and the kicking game, which hopefully will be negated from that exit yardage that we will be able to produce, like I highlighted before. But DCE, man, there's a reason he's 34 years old and he still gets constantly picked for this Queensland team. And that's because his kicking game is elite. He's always a 40-20 threat. He's always, controlling the game with his boot, much like a Moses does. And I think he will be the best game controller on the field. Our effectiveness, of our playmakers is pretty much determined on the platform that the forwards give us, which I'm hoping, as a New South Wales fan, it is going to be a very good platform with Payne Haas and Angus Crichton and the likes of that. But yeah, I think when they've got front foot ball, Hines and Luai, that's when they thrive the most. That's when they're threatening short side. That's when they're going over to the other side and linking with each other, and Luai starts getting that footwork moving. But DCE, you know what they're going to get from him, whether they're going backwards or forwards. His kicking game is going to get them out of trouble and control the contest. So will slightly favour Queensland, but, on the back of a good forward pack, we have a good chance to control this game.
Yeah, for me, control and tempo as well, I think is going to come from two rookies in this one. I think it's going to be Cam McInnes for the Blues as well. We talk about Isaiah Yao and the ball playing ability that he has. For me, New South Wales are going to play up front and they're going to push the ball through the middle before then coming out the back. But it's going to be how Cam McInnes can link with the halves in this one. And if it is actually going to be that link, or like we talked about in the last show, where it might just be straight out to Hines or straight out to Luai on either edge or how they play. And for the Maroons on the other side of that, it's the little strawberry blonde boy that's come in out there. And we've seen for the Cowboys this year, when it shifts out to that left side, Tommy Dearden, he's got a lot of flair to his game, but it can be very, very erratic. So if he can rein that back a little bit and play the system right in this one, well, that's what he'll be looking for, I'd like to hope, in here. Because if we're doing that big left-hand shift and he's throwing these big miracle balls or these cutout balls or these lob passes and things like that, that's not what we want from Tommy Dearden out on there. They need consistency. And we see Cam Munster break these games down so often where nothing's on and he'll just run that jinky left foot fend and break a game open. And it'll be interesting to see if Tommy Dearden can sort of break something open himself out on that left-hand edge, because I think he's the one that can just light that spark for them.
Yeah, and it won't be through lack of trying either, because he is definitely a very aggressive half in terms of the running game, loves a show and go. So it might be a similar effect to what a Munster can do. You know how Munster always is threatening with the kicks and stuff like that, but in a different package with Tom Dearden just taking it hard to the line and running, and then hoping his outside sort of give him opportunities to find them and put them in holes as well. So it is going to be very interesting. A lot of question marks around these halves and how effective they're going to be in this contest. But the one rock of it all is DCE for me. So I will give the slight edge to Queensland. And then the final category that I wanted to cover is defense. And this is where Queensland has had the advantage and won the series for the last 2 years. But I believe, this might be a bit of a hot take, but I believe that with Maguire's New South Wales that he has named, I believe that this is switched for the first time in a couple of years.
I
I
agree.
believe picking guys like Trebojevic, Martin, Crichton, and McInnes, all workers and all guys who just don't miss tackles too often and are just workhorse defenders in the middle, as well as Payne Haas, who only missed like single-digit tackles for the whole year last year. It gives them the edge in the defensive department, which is strange when you look at the series in the last couple of years. And even I would say there is slight question marks over the edges for Queensland, given that Nanai and Saw have been named. And, you know, Nanai hits hard when they run directly at him and he can shoot out of the line and put a shot on, but does get a little sketchy at times. Jaden Saw also likes rushing out of the line, putting shots on, which can leave you vulnerable to getting stepped and creating a hole in the defensive line. So I don't quite trust their guys as much as I do the New South Wales guys. And then even at a reach, Cotter is, you know, a hard worker and a workhorse for them, but he is on the smaller side for a front rower and for a forward. So I do give the edge to New South Wales in the defensive department in this game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. If you're on social media and you're following both Queensland and the New South Wales Blues, you've seen that Queensland have been living it up in the Goldie at the moment. They're enjoying that sunshine. They're out amongst it. New South Wales, they've rolled the sleeves up. They've gone up into the Blue Mountains. They've got Boots McInnes, a man that will make 70 tackles week in and week out. He won't have any teeth in his mouth guard at the back end of that. There'll be blood bleeding from him everywhere. Jake Trebojevic, he wears his New South Wales jersey on his arm. You got Payne Haas, big pain in the ass, in the middle there. Reece Robson, nuggety hooker that's going to roll his sleeves up in the middle and do a jobby. He's just picked battlers, man. And they've gone up there with that mentality that they're going to work for this. They're going to set the tone. It's a new dawn of the New South Wales jersey that they're going to be running out and come Wednesday night. And I agree with you 100%. The defensive edge for me goes to the players that are out there for New South Wales, but I think how they're prepared for this, the mentality that they're going to bring into it, and just how they're treating this game. I think it's going to be a grinded out game. It's going to be dogs of war kind of stuff out there, and I give the edge to them come defensively because they're gonna roll their sleeves up and they're gonna get it done. Do you have a player of the match in this one?
I do. And I believe it's going to be off the back of something we were talking about before and the threat around the ruck. And, you know, that being a potential, you know, factor for us to have success off the back of quick ball that Payne Haas gives us from Olakuatu and Lenu when they come onto the game with Crichton. I think there's going to be opportunities around the ruck, and I think there's going to be a guy who's determined to put his hand up for this team. And just the way the game plays, I think it's going to be a perfect game for him to highlight his skill sets. And I think it's James Tedesco. I think he's going to waltz into this team and get player of the match at $13 odds on Sports 365. So I'm actually going to back him to do some jinking runs around the block hole, get a whole bunch of run meters, maybe even a try assist when he gets into the strike zone, because he doesn't mind throwing a skip ball or a short ball. He doesn't mind taking the right option to get us over the line. So I think James Tedesco is actually on track to having a really good game in this one. So I'm going to back him here.
In terms of a player of the series, I'll just jump. I reckon Payne Haas might be a little bit of a smoky for this one in terms of potentially just being consistent through it. But my player of the match, man, Tedesco. It's ride or die with him. He's going to either play himself in or he's going to play himself out. And we're bleeding blue here, so I'm going to back that performance is going to come from him. But I agree with you 100%. He's going in there with that mentality of it's all on me right now. And it's if it can break open through the middle there a little bit, that supporting play, that jinking step that he does, something out on the edge, he might set up a try, he might score a try, he might do both. But I agree with you 100%. It's if the Blues are gonna take this game, it's gonna come off the back of obviously a good performance from Hines, but I think it's gonna be from Teddy that ultimately gets it done from them. Now, best bet for this one. So we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to do a 3-leg multi each for the game, and then we're going to go with a little try score smoky. So I'll start off with my best bet for the game. Now I'm going to go New South Wales plus 1.5. I don't really like the line at a 1.5 here, but when I'm tipping the Blues to win it, there might be something. There might be a field goal or something like that within it, but that's where I'm going to go here. Now I'm going to go the total points under 36.5. It looks like it's going to be a potentially boggy ground out there. We all know game ones are quite close. And I think this is just going to be a roll up affair. Roll your sleeves up, get in there, get the job done. And I think it's going to be low scoring. And I'm going to go Val Holmes anytime try scorer in this one. 13 tries, 17 games. The centre has scored the opening try in the last 4 game 1s. He might not score the opening try, but he might score a try at any time. And that will actually give you $19.75. New South Wales plus 1.5. Total points under Val Holmes anytime try scorer.
Damn, that is really good odds. Damn, you've done a really good job there. I'll just let you know my prediction. So my best bet kind of makes a lot more sense, or else I'm just throwing random props out there. But I think New South Wales will dominate territory early, like we've kind of mentioned in our preview. And I think they will get an early lead, and it'll actually be Queensland that works their way back into this game. So I believe we'll be up around 24-6 at halftime or something like that. Maybe not that much, but we'll have a substantial lead going into the final quarter of this game. And then Queensland might, with a bit of more tired defence, might have those breakout moments from your Reece Walshes, from your Xavier Coates, from your Valentine Holmes, that get them a try here or there, from Hammer even, that brings this game close. So I'm actually going to say New South Wales get an early lead, but then it eventually ends up 24-18. So my best bets for this game, I've got a 3-legger, all just based on the result. New South Wales first half, New South Wales 1-12, and total points over 34.5, just because I think the bookies are expecting it to be a low-scoring game, so they've actually undervalued the total points. So I'm actually going to go over. I've set it at a real low 34.5. Hopefully they can score a few tries and get over that, but that all amounts to $10 as my best bet.
Nice. If I was going to give a final score, I'd probably be looking around that 14-10 mark. Obviously, to New South Wales, I think there might be a penalty or two to either team in this one, and just low scoring, grinded out footy. It's game 1. There's a lot of new combinations out there as well. My try score is Smokey though in this one. It might not be. I guess there will be a lot of people out there that say, try score a Smokey. Who's not a Smokey? He's been in fantastic form this season for the Roosters, and he's out on that left edge, and he's been called into this Origin squad in great form. I see you smirking over there. I feel like we've held hands on this one. He's running up against Daly Cherry Evans and Jeremiah Nanai, and that is Angus Crichton. If there's someone that's going to hit a short, get a short ball from Jerome Luai, which we see all the time, it will be him, and I think they'll target that channel early because Nanai has been a little bit of a lapse this season on the defensive end, and Daly Cherry Evans is known for letting a few tries in himself. So Angus Crichton, I've got him at $4.50.
Yeah, and I knew you would read my mind because I have two options here. I did have Angus Crichton as well. I also like the fact that Nico Hines loves drifting around to that other side as well and setting up his other second rower for tries. You see that a lot with Teague Wilton getting over the line because of Nico Hines coming around and giving him opportunities. So I really like Angus Crichton there at $4.25. I reckon that's some really good value. But I've also chucked in a Smokey, and this is a real Smokey because he's coming off the bench. So who knows how they're going to play him. But I'm going Hamole Olakalatu because he could play on that left side and get opportunities there. But we all know Nico Hines is really good at setting up his right side second rowers as well. Nakora last year was a try-scoring machine. He's kind of gone quiet this year, but if he gets on and he goes onto that right side edge, he'll be able to score a try off the back of Nico Hines, giving him a little short ball. Or, wherever he plays, I believe the playmakers in New South Wales will be able to give this big, hulking guy a good opportunity to score. So, depending on minutes, let's see if Hamole can get a try at $6.50.
Honestly, I looked at him as well. You talk about Nakura. Hamole's probably twice the size of Nakura and just looks even more intimidating. He's an absolute beast. He's bred for blue out there as well. Yeah, I really like that value for a try scorer Smokey off the bench. That concludes all the Origin chat. We're going to do a quick picks for NRL round 14. Obviously, this is recorded on a Monday, so we don't have team lists, we don't have odds or anything like that. So we'll put our best bets up on our socials, and you might end up seeing an adjusted picks line on the head-to-heads, depending on if we actually do see some teams come out and say that they are going to rest their Origin players as well. But nonetheless, we'll rattle off who's playing who, where it is. There won't be any stats or anything like that. We'll just be hitting who we're picking for the game. And we'll start it off with the Dragons taking on the Tigers at Wynn Stadium. So I'm going to be going the Dragons in this one just off the back of what I saw last week.
Yeah, and even though their Origin players will probably not back up on a Friday night, I think they look really good against the Panthers without them. And the Tigers have lost 8 in a row. Dragons have won the last 2 against the Dragons as well.
Nice. Titans take on the Rabbitohs at Seabus Super Stadium. I'll be taking the Titans in this one, and I'd be very, very scared if I'm marking David Fifita out there.
Damn. See, I'm going to go with the Raiders. They've won the last 2 comfortably, both here at Seabus, and they won't be dealing with as much Origin fatigue because they've been so shit that no one made it. So I'm actually going to go with the Rabbitohs in a high-scoring contest.
Nice. Cowboys, they take on the Mighty Wars at Queensland Country Back Stadium. Wars win this one. Too much mana.
Yeah, I'll take that mana from you as well, because I'm also going with the Warriors here because they seem to do really good against the Cowboys, and they swept them last year, and they obviously won't be going through much Origin fatigue, so I like them as big underdogs. I'll go the Wars.
Nice. And from what I'm seeing in terms of early mail as well, it looks like there'll be a whole heap of ins for the Wars in this one. Broncos take on the Sharks at Suncorp. I'm going Broncos to win this one. Fins down at the moment, man, for the Sharkies. Broncos up.
Yeah, I'm kind of going insane here by still picking the Sharks again, but I actually am. I know they keep burning me week after week, but I like them at $2.55 underdogs, and they didn't look too bad last week, even though they lost to the Eels. But I like them to bounce back here. I think the Broncos are going to have some Origin fatigue.
Nice. Storm, they take on the Knights at Amy Park. Unfortunately, I can't be there. I'll be in NZ that week. But Storm, they win that one.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know the Knights have had the stick over the Storm lately, but Amy Park is a fortress, and I think they'll get some revenge here.
Panthers, they take on Manly at Bluebet Stadium. I'm going to go Manly to win this one, and I think maybe just because it's at the back end of the round, DCE might play this, Hamoli might play this, a few guys that might not have had some big minutes, i.e. Hamoli in that one. But yeah, I'm back in Manly here. Kick the Panthers while they're down.
Wow. Yeah, it might not be just those reasons that you're picking Manly, but I like how you work. I'm going with the Panthers. I just think they looked really good with their Origin boys when they beat the Sharks. They looked unstoppable, and I think they will back up here. So I will say the Panthers win on a Sunday.
Nice. And to round it all off, Dogs of War. They take on the Eels at a Course Stadium. I think Mitch Moses coming back in. Dylan Brown had his best game of the season off the back of that. The forwards look fantastic. I think they sacked Brad Arthur at the wrong time. The Eels win that one.
And I completely agree. I don't like picking against the Bulldogs because they've looked pretty good lately, but I can't pick against Moses when I see form like that. So I'm going to say the Eels win this one.
Nice. Before we go, I just had a quick notification come in on the phone from our friend Danny Wilder. Dylan Edwards strained his quad doing extras after camp. So it wasn't in training. It was obviously the team run. He's gone out and he's done his extras after the game, like he probably does week in and week out with the Panthers. That's the reason why he's there. He's a workhorse. He does those kind of things, but he's done his quad doing extras. That's a shame.
That's the most Dylan Edwards way to hurt yourself I've ever heard, man. Apparently, rumor has it at the Panthers that he has never lost a cardio test there.
Nah, so he got pipped in New South Wales and he's just running some more cardio to end that one. But man, that's tough. Be out there doing extras.
Who would you back to beat him if there was someone to beat him in the New South Wales team?
Gerbo. Nah, I'm talking shit.
I don't hate it.
I'd probably go Joseph Suoli. That dude looks like just a thoroughbred athlete through and through. I don't think anyone's beating him, but I reckon Suoli might be up there behind him. But he might be a little bit too scucks and kind of at the back in that one.
Maybe Stephen Crichton. He seems to me like he'd be a fit guy. He's always getting intercepts late into games, and he's always defending at a high rate late into games. So maybe Stephen Crichton, but they played at the Panthers, so obviously I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Can't be him. Unless Bulldog's fitness routine is at the top.
There's those calves. He's got big calves as well, man. You always look at the calves on that. That concludes another show from the lads. I hope you guys all enjoy Origin. Unfortunately, because I am in New Zealand next week, we won't be able to do a review from it all, but just stay live with us on the socials. We'll be doing all of our best bets and keeping track on that. Enjoy the game though, and we'll see you guys all next week. Peace.